Keir Starmer's Labour government, which once promised to tackle illegal immigration with the same fervour that it criticised the Conservatives for their failure to do so, is now entrenched in a scandal that exposes the gap between its rhetoric and its reality. When Labour first took office, voters were led to believe that the party would stand apart from the tired political games of the past. They believed that Starmer's team would bring new thinking, new solutions, and, crucially, swift action on illegal immigration. But what have we seen since Labour's rise to power? A failure to deliver, backpedaling on promises, and an unwillingness to own up to its own shortcomings. The latest debacle, the shocking revelation that Labour has extended the contracts for asylum hotels by 4 years, lays bare the truth of Starmer's government. They cannot, or will not, act decisively when it matters most. Just a few years ago, Labour promised to smash the gangs and close asylum hotels as part of its election manifesto, promising voters that the party would finally end the chaotic asylum accommodation system that had become a significant drain on taxpayer money. Yet, in a stark betrayal of that pledge, Labour is now committing to extend hotel contracts for an additional 4 years, suggesting they have no immediate alternative in place. This failure to deliver on one of their flagship promises has sparked fury from the public and from political analysts alike. Let's be clear, the extension of asylum hotel contracts is not a mere policy misstep. It is a sign of incompetence, a glaring example of a government that talks big but lacks the will or capability to act. The Labour government has had more than enough time to formulate a comprehensive solution for asylum seekers and immigration reform. The party has been in power long enough to take charge of the situation, yet it continues to point fingers at the previous Conservative administration as if it is still playing catch-up. The Labour response, when questioned by Conservative MP Henry Byron Davies during a debate in the House of Lords, was nothing more than a deflection. The minister's attempt to blame the previous government, highlighting the closure of a mere low teens number of hotels and the removal of 19,000 people with no legal right to remain, was an insult to those who expect accountability from their elected officials. The problem with Labour's position is not just that they are failing to live up to their promises, but that they are now compounding their failure with blatant hypocrisy. They have extended the very asylum hotel contracts they pledged to close, and their refusal to provide any concrete answers or future solutions only adds to the sense of frustration. How can a government that is supposed to lead effectively fail to give clear, measurable details about the progress it is supposedly making? Worse still, they are trying to escape scrutiny by shifting blame, a tactic that is quickly losing its effectiveness. In the eyes of many, this is a betrayal of voters who believed Labour's promises, a betrayal of the very people who believed that the party would usher in a new era of immigration control. This extension of asylum hotel contracts undermines any remaining trust in the government's ability to tackle illegal immigration. The rhetoric about smashing the gangs was bold, but what have we seen? A slow-motion collapse of that vision. Instead of action, we see delay. Instead of accountability, we see excuses. It's a political playbook that voters are quickly tiring of. Let's not mince words. The Labour government is being exposed for its lack of direction and its unwillingness to make the tough decisions. In their desperation to avoid confrontation on the issue of illegal migration, they are putting off meaningful action, letting the problem fester for yet another 4 years. The very people who voted for change are now questioning whether they have been deceived. And rightfully so. If Labour cannot even begin to address one of the most pressing issues facing the country today, immigration, how can they be trusted to manage the economy, healthcare, or any other critical sector? This crisis is not just about the extension of contracts or the failure to close asylum hotels. It is about the credibility of the government itself. Labour has failed to grasp the enormity of the issue. It has failed to implement anything resembling an efficient, long-term solution. Labour's promises are increasingly sounding like hollow rhetoric, and it is becoming ever more difficult to ignore the growing sense of betrayal from the public. And if this failure continues, Starmer's government may very well face an uprising of anger from voters who no longer see any difference between Labour and the Conservatives when it comes to handling illegal immigration. The Labour government is now faced with a choice: continue with the excuses and defer accountability, or take bold, decisive action to make good on their promises. They can no longer blame the previous government for the asylum hotel debacle. They are the government now, and the responsibility lies with them. But if they continue to sit on their hands, dragging their feet on an issue that has dominated public discourse, it will be clear that the Labour Party has abandoned its own promises and, more importantly, its own voters. The party can no longer afford to pretend that it is working towards a solution while kicking the can down the road. Labour has failed, and it is time for the government to either put up or step aside. Because in politics, there is no place for indecision, and certainly no room for those who are content to waste taxpayer money while doing nothing to resolve the pressing issues of the day.